Okay, here we are in Illustrator, and these steps are going to help you to convert your Illustrator file, your AI, to be compatible for Tinkercad. And what's important about this step is that this step is a common step that one would do if you were also importing your files into other programs, other 3D programs, such as Blender, such as Maya, such as CAD. So the steps that I'm showing you are how to get your vector document to be compatible, or I should say importable, to be able to import into Tinkercad. And that's the value of this particular tutorial. So the important thing to remember is that you have the one and only logo design that you want to have. You shouldn't have anything else on the field. And so I just want to go over a couple of things to be sure that you have remembered the aspect about converting your type, which is this, which is where I started with. I started with this and then built this sort of little logo for Save the Whales. So this is, as you can see, it's grouped because it comes from the text tool and it's locked into the typeface. So you want to come up here to type and create outlines. So you don't want your type to be all intact from the text tool. It's important to convert your text into a form, and this will do that, which is under Type, Create Outlines. And then you have basically, so if I do that right now, convert, go to Type, create outlines, then you can see all the outlines, and then you come up here to ungroup, and then you have them individually. And so that is what you need to do as far as type is concerned. But I do not need that because I've done this up here. Now, on this particular situation, I did merge all of these under Pathfinder to create right here, which is Unite, and that blends all the forms together so that they are one. So that might be something you may need to do. And do remember, you notice how this is all connected now. It's not separate. Save is not separate from Whales. And that is because when I bring it into 3D, I want it to be together. Now, you may have some objects or designs that are separate from each other. And you can decide upon if you want to keep them connected in some way, because this is going to be a three-dimensional object. So if your logo has one object here and one object there, doesn't serve to be a 3D product because you have two separate things. So find a base that could unite them if possible, or you can use these separate entities of your design to cut into a solid object. That's a different story. So the solid object is solid, and then you can cut into that. And I'll show you that once we get into Tinkercad. So now what you need to do is and this size right here is 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So I've scaled this down quite a bit from my other size. And after you save it as an AI, of course, you're going to go Save File, Save As, and then we're going to save it as a SWG right down here. So we're down here, and this is an SVG, and you save it as such. Save. And yes, I'm going to replace it. And the SVG is in whatever default it is, just say yes. So if I did another one, yeah, here it comes. This window pops up. Just leave it as it is. Everything is good. And say OK. So now that I have that, so remember, SVG represents scalable vector graphics, SVG. And that is how JavaScript in web design utilizes the ability to animate vector graphics. So that's how code can actually animate vector designs. which is another exciting thing to do. So let's move on. So in Tinkercad, this is my account that I made. It's all free, so make yourself an account. I would make it to your personal email because you want to always have it. If you make it to SUNY, you may not have access to that all the time. So make it to your personal Gmail. Gmail is probably the best. So I'm going to create a new design. And the important aspect about this is the same thing that you do with any program that you have to learn. You have to play with it for a little bit to be able to understand how it works. So right now, let me just move this out of our way. I need to import. So here is import. And I'm going to choose my file. And my file is the SVG that I saved. And it's going to come in a second. Depends on your speed. And pretty much you could say 50%. And I will because I did it last time and it was quite big. So now I'm just going to say 50% and import. And it will come in a little bit smaller than what you have. And there it is. So now this is the time to peruse the site. And it's important to know that these controls over here, if you mouse down and roll this around, you can see how this works. But if you just, and the arrows here can give you the different dimensions. And then the top. And I sort of reversed myself. So let's get that back. And I also did that. So you can see, and you can also do space bar. And let's see here, or control this here. Yeah, I think primarily we'll use this. Yeah, and you can move it, and we do top. Move this around. And then you can also do home, and then it goes top. So if you mess it up like I just did, which is why I love to show these demos where I make mistakes just like you will. And so now you can see how you can begin to play. And if you take objects, just to let you know, you can take it like from there, select it. And if you want to go higher, that's lifting it off the ground. But if you bring this up, it stretches it. So now, if I move this around, you see it's a little bit thicker. And that might be what you might want. And again, don't forget the reset to be home. And then the top gives you the ability to see it straight on. And this is if you want to do flat or perspective. So flat is also very good to, and you can zoom out or zoom in. And this sort of, and if you roll over again, it does give you clues. And Shift key does keep things proportionate. So if you want to get it smaller. And the thing I just want to show you before we end this tutorial is that it is on the cloud. So it's saving it all the time. And if you wanted to, you could go to export. And OBJ is what the CAD would want, CAD or Maya or Blender, any of those. And STL is also for printing in a MakerBot machine and so forth. Laser cutting, SVG again, so OBJ. And if you notice, you don't really see the ability to do a JPEG. So that's something that's interesting. So if we highlight this and we come over here, duplicate and repeat, there's that again. We don't want to do that. But you should be able to, you can take a picture of this as you can, and you can also, everything in design, be able to 3D print. See, there are the different printers, as you will see. and then the selected shape, obviously, with what you want. And there is a way to do the JPEG, but actually I don't see where we can do that right now. It's got to be a way that I know to do the export for JPEG. But again, you can also save it as or send to, this probably is where we can do, pictures of your design, download locally. So ping, there you go. That, now you see, just to let you know, I did not know how to do that, right? But if you keep poking around, you'll find the tools that you need. So picture of your design, it just downloaded a PNG. So it's giving you a PNG, and that is just like a JPEG. So that's one way to get it. So the other thing I just wanted to show you, which I think is very unique, is that you can take objects and bring them down like this. And you can move this around as such. And what I want you to see is that you can also bring another object in, such as this. And let's bring this over here. And let's look at this from the top. Right? And you notice this is why 3D, it's very good to get yourself into moving 3D around. Oh, don't want to do that. And Control Z works very nicely. And you see how I can't really get a handle of it? That's why sometimes you do have to bring this up and bring that out and then back to the top again. And then let's see if we can get this to move. There we go. So you see I'm not really clicking any handles. And what I want to do is I want to get this right inside of there. Now let's be sure it's together. There it is. And what this does, and the reason why I'm showing this to you, because it's important. Let's get all of these. You can select all of them, Shift key, and now let's make them bigger. And again, check to be sure that they're in position. So I could bring this a little higher. Oh, not that way. This one. Get this up a little bit more. So it cuts it about like that. Again, the top. There we go. And so what I want to show you is that you can come over here, move this over a little bit more. And I can say I want this object to, actually I'm going to cut the cone. I want the orange object to cut the triangle. And so we say cut, and then we can come up here to see what it looks like in the front and the back. And then when you highlight both of these on here, as such, you can see the cut. And that's what I wanted to show you, is that you see objects can cut each other, which is why we use them to be able to carve into things. So just remember, when you do that, let's go back as it was. Again, reset. Here's my, now I'll do it the other way. I'll highlight these two, just highlight this one. And what you're saying, this is it. In here, it's called a hole, but in 3D, we call it a boolean. And we're going to cut that. So it just cut into this object. And when you select both of them, you say unite, and then you can see the cut. Now we love that because that's how you really can get the details that you want. So objects can cut each other. Okay, that's it, folks. Try it yourself.